Hello, this is Susan, and for the next half hour, I'll be reading from the Investigative Post on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The first article I would like to read is entitled "Ice Freezes UB Scientist Arrested at Peace Bridge." Researcher has been seized after making a wrong turn. His detention sparked outrage. Jovge Husenoy, the University at Buffalo neuroscientist who was arrested by border agents after making a wrong turn onto the Peace Bridge, has been freed from ICE detention. He was back home with his family in Buffalo as of Saturday, according to a video he posted to his Facebook page. "I want to thank each and every one of you for being concerned and curious about me these past few days. It means a lot," he said in the video. "I have returned to a normal routine and everything is under control." Husenoyev posted the video in his native Azerbaijani, and Investigative Post used an online service to translate. In the video, Hasanov hugs and kisses his two children. While he was away, his son won a swimming championship for 11-year-olds. It was a great gift for his father, Husanov said, and his daughter video called him each day. "She never let her father be forgotten," he said. "And during this period, I truly saw the great love people have for me and their support for me." Husanov, a native of Azerbaijan, was driving in Buffalo on January 7th when he accidentally turned onto the Peace Bridge and crossed into Canada. Upon his return, border agents arrested him, alleging he had overstayed a visa. In fact, his attorney later explained, he had an active immigration case allowing him to live and work in the country legally. Sienna McLean, partner at the immigration law firm's Richard Jerziak, said Hasanov's work authorization is valid through 2029. Still, Hasanov was held at the ICE detention center in Batavia and then at a facility in rural Michigan. He remained there for much of the month, and Husanov was released on a $1,500 bond last week, the lowest possible amount the government charges, McLean told Investigative Post. "As all of my steps, all my actions are within the boundaries of law, I am in my home today. I have returned to my normal job," he said. His immigration case remains pending, and since 2022, Hasanov has worked as a researcher at the UB Jacobs School of Medicine and Biomedical Sciences, studying ways the brain interacts with the immune system. In that time, he's contributed to numerous research papers and in November attended a large neuroscience conference in California. One colleague described him as a well-respected, hardworking researcher. In a statement Monday, UB spokesman John Della Contrada said the university was very pleased with an immigration judge's decision to release Hasanov on bond. The university will continue to provide appropriate support to Shavji and his personal attorney as his case proceeds through the federal immigration system, Della Contrada said. Husseinov's case sparked outrage among leaders across New York. Senator Chuck Schumer, Representative Tim Kennedy, and Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz and Buffalo Mayor Sean Ryan all condemned the Trump administration's decision to arrest and detain him. In remarks at Canisius University last week, Kennedy slammed the Trump administration for targeting law-abiding immigrants and American citizens. Donald Trump promised us that he was going to go after the worst of the worst. Remember that? Well, guess what? He lied to us, Kennedy said. In a statement Monday, Kennedy said he was thankful Husseinov had been released, noting that his office had been in regular contact with leadership at the University at Buffalo to provide guidance and offer any assistance needed. He should never have been detained in the first place. His detention is demonstrative of the lawless culture created by Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and the Trump administration, Kennedy said. We are lucky that he has returned to our Buffalo community. Also, in response to Husseinov's case, State Assemblyman Jonathan Rivera and Senator April Baskin on Friday sent a letter to Eric Mecca, the Western New York Regional Director for the State Department of Transportation, demanding his agency begin working on plans to offer an escape route to drivers who mistakenly take the Peace Bridge exit off the thruway. Doing so is essential, they argued, given the Trump administration's practice of arresting those who accidentally cross the bridge. In the letter, Rivera and Baskin state they've communicated with the Buffalo and Fort Erie Public Bridge Authority, the international entity that owns the Peace Bridge. At a minimum, the letter states, the DOT must evaluate near-term solutions such as a designated pullover or escape route prior to the inspection plaza, as well as develop long-term design changes that eliminate the risk of unintended border crossings altogether. While these issues have long posed safety and operational concerns, the current federal administration's aggressive immigration enforcement policies have raised the stakes dramatically, Rivera and Baskin wrote. A simple driving error can now result in detention, interrogation, or worse. This is an unacceptable risk created not by driver negligence, but by infrastructure design failures. A DOT spokesman did not immediately return a request for comment. And next, the article is entitled, The Not So Hot Trump Economy. Analysis find most campaign promises have not been met, which helps explain the president's growing unpopularity. Also in this post, hot and cold real estate markets in Western New York and poor reviews for Sabres home rink. This is written by Jim Heaney. Donald Trump won election for a second term in part because a lot of voters thought he would be good for the economy. He's been in office for a year, and how is the economy doing? The New York Times used data to look at 8 sectors. Among the findings, grocery prices on balance have increased. Trump said they'd drop if he was elected. Gas prices have dropped, but not as steeply as Trump promised on the campaign trail. The cost of electricity has increased. Trump said he cut prices in half during his first year in office. Manufacturing jobs have declined and wage growth in that sector has slowed. The auto industry has been especially hard hit. The stock market has continued to grow, with the value of stocks up 16% over the course of last year. On balance, the Time analysis said Trump has delivered on 1 of 8 promises, marked some progress on 3 others, and has nothing to show for 4 others. You'll find all the details here. A gift link, as are all others in this post, so read on. But wait, there's more. The value of the U.S. dollar has dropped. No small consideration for those of us living in a border town. And the U.S. trade deficit surged in November. There's one economic indicator that is way up, however: the personal wealth of the Trump family. Over the past year, it has jumped by $1.4 billion. Here's the story, and better yet, a short video that lays everything out. A final word on Trump, courtesy of a round-table discussion in the Times, in which columnist David French made this observation. We are witnessing the total breakdown of any meaningful system of accountability for federal officials. The combination of President Trump's January 6th pardons, his ongoing campaign of pardoning friends and allies, his politicized prosecutions, and now his administration's assurances that federal officers have immunity are creating a new legal reality in the United States. The national government is becoming functionally lawless, and the legal system is struggling to contain his corruption. We're tasting the bitter fruit of Trump's dreadful policies, to be sure, but it's worse than that. He's exploiting years of legal developments that have helped insulate federal officials from both criminal and civil accountability. It's as if we engineered a legal system premised on the idea that federal officials are almost always honest and the citizens who critique them are almost always wrong. We've tilted the legal playing field against citizens and in favor of the government. The Trump administration breaks the law and also ruthlessly exploits all the immunities it's granted by law. The situation is unsustainable for a constitutional republic. It's little wonder Trump's standing with the public continues to worsen. The latest polling by the Pew Research Center found 61% disapprove of the job he's doing versus 37% who approve. When asked what they think of Trump's plans and policies, only 27% said they supported most or all of them. Another 20% said they supported some, and 52% said they support few or none. In terms of local leadership, Mark Poloncarz is trying to raise his national profile in the Democratic Party, with talks going so far as a possible run for president. He fancies himself another Pete Buttigieg. The Erie County executive is perhaps positioning himself for a role in a presumed Democratic administration come 2029. Meanwhile, Mayor Sean Ryan is catching some heat from the city's response to recent snowstorms. I'm among those not impressed with the city's snow removal efforts, but Ryan inherited a mess of a public works department that is going to take time to turn around. Buffalo Business First published housing sale prices for the fourth quarter of last year, and here's what's hot and what's not. The highest average sale prices were $638,226 in Clarence Center with a zip code of 14032, $579,853 in Clarence with a zip code 14031, $496,933 in Alma, 14059, $467,614 in Youngstown with a zip 14174, and $465,543 in East Aurora, 14052. The lowest average sale prices were $146,333 in Niagara Falls, $146,984 in Buffalo, Cheektowaga, 14211, $153,139 in Jamestown, $179,120 in Dunkirk, zip code 14048, and finally $197,361 in Buffalo with a zip code of 14212. And what are the strongest home buyer markets nationally? At this time, I'd like to tell you we are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Investigative Post on the Niagara Frontier Radio Service. Our downtown arena was ranked the second worst rink in the National Hockey League, according to a survey of fans and hockey writers conducted by The Athletic. Factors included location, amenities, affordability, and atmosphere. Wrote The Athletic, KeyBank was a fun place to watch games 20 years ago when the Sabres were a top team and the building was rocking. All the years of losing have obviously had an impact on the fans. Even with Buffalo winning again, however, there are plenty of complaints about how far the arena and in-game experience have declined. Fans voted KeyBank last for amenities and third last for atmosphere, with many filling our survey responses with colorful descriptions of how bad the seats are, both in the stands and in the bathrooms. Now, I've been a Sabres season ticket holder since 1987 and typically attend 15 to 20 home games a year. So I know of what I am about to speak. Affordability is a mixed bag. Tickets are reasonable, concessions ridiculous, both in terms of price and quality. Think $18 beers and ice cream sandwiches for $11 and change. The arena hasn't been updated in like forever. The same photos of past Sabre stars have lined the hallways for like forever. It's been a big deal when they painted the concrete floors in the hallway. Most of all is the so-called in-game entertainment. It used to be good, laced with humor, when Tom Golisano and Larry Quinn ran the show. But now fans are subject to inane games and music blasted at ear-shattering levels. Bruce Springsteen released a protest song last week about what's happening in Minneapolis, and the boss doesn't hold back. Next, we have dispatches from Minneapolis. Killing of Alex Pretty by federal agents capped a week of confrontation in which the Trump administration once again used a deadly force on American citizens protesting heavy-handed enforcement efforts. Lydia Palgreen, a columnist for the New York Times, penned a piece published Saturday that carried the headline, "In Minneapolis, I glimpsed a civil war." Thousands of masked, heavily armed agents, some with minimal training, have been unleashed on the streets of an American state. They have been promised near total legal immunity by the president, effectively unshackled from any constitutional constraints. They have been given limitless license to abduct anyone, not just the undocumented immigrants, but American citizens who happen to look foreign, whatever that might mean. Even Native Americans whose ancestors have lived here long before anyone else have been detained on the absurd suspicion that they are undocumented immigrants. They have roughed up local lawmakers, detained and jailed legal observers without charges, tear-gassed high school students, smashed in car windows of bewildered drivers unlucky enough to cross their path. Anyone who gets in their way by protesting, filming their actions, or simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time is presumed to be a domestic terrorist. This was before a Border Patrol agent shot and killed Alex Preddy, an ICU nurse who was among those protesting the federal invasion of his city. In the aftermath, M. Gesson, another Times columnist, declared, "State terror has arrived." Federal immigration officers have shot 3 people in Minneapolis so far this month. 2 of them are dead. Preddy's killing Saturday was captured on video, and a Times analysis concluded that Trump's administration's version of events are fiction. The video shows Border Patrol agents assaulted and pepper-sprayed Preddy, wrestled him to the ground, and took a gun from his person before shooting him up to 10 times. Footage shows Mr. Preddy was clearly holding a phone, not a gun, before the agents took him to the ground and shot him. Video analysis by several other outlets, including CNN, came to the same conclusion. Preddy's killing followed protests Friday by tens of thousands, who were met with force by federal agents. Friday's front page of the Minnesota Star-Tribune featured a jarring photo of an ICE agent spraying what was described as a chemical irritant into the face of a protester pinned to the ground. Pictured elsewhere on the front page, a 5-year-old boy taken into custody by ICE along with his father. To repeat, a 5-year-old boy taken into custody by ICE. That followed ICE detaining a 2-year-old along with her father. A judge ordered the girl released from custody. During the course of the day Friday, thousands of protesters chanted ICE out, braved sub-zero temperatures to flood the streets of downtown Minneapolis, and others formed a picket line and staged a sit-in at the Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport that resulted in the arrest of some 100 clergy. Hundreds of businessmen in the Twin Cities showed solidarity by closing for the day. It had the feel of a general strike. In response of the Trump administration has been to double down, starting with their defense of the agents who killed Preddy. The Army has put 1,500 soldiers on standby for possible deployment to Minnesota. The Associated Press reported ICE has assumed expanded powers to raid houses without obtaining a judicial warrant. The Department of Homeland Security has started to build a national database of citizens who exercise their First Amendment right to observe or video ICE enforcement actions on the grounds that they are domestic terrorists. Trump's Department of Justice has launched investigations into 5 leading elected officials, including Governor Tim Walz, Mayor Jacob Fry of Minneapolis, and Mayor Cuomo of St. Paul. A new poll by the New York Times and Siena University taken from Saturday's killing found most Americans oppose ICE action. 63% say they disapprove of the job ICE is doing, and only 36% expressed support. Locally, Buffalo Mayor Sean Ryan is scheduled to issue an executive order that prohibits city departments, including police, from cooperating with ICE and other federal immigration enforcement agencies. Trump, if unchecked, is likely to turn federal agents loose on some cities like Rochester, New York City, Los Angeles. The events in Minneapolis are likely to also stiffen resistance to Trump's efforts. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the Investigative Post. We read from the Investigative Post on Thursdays at 8:30 a.m. Your reader has been Susan, and thank you for listening.
Good morning. Welcome to another broadcast day on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, a private, not-for-profit organization. As always, please feel free to contact us with your comments, suggestions,